Hey, so I'm gonna go ahead and try and do this kind of video again here, covering some knives that I just recently picked up in the order that I did an unboxing video for that I felt was way too long. This one, however, I did just have a video review up on my channel for this guy. This is a TwoSun TS348. This is a Pikal from Josh Watko design. It's a TS348. Really, really crazy large knife. But yeah, like I said, I already did a review for it, so I'm going to just get that out the way. Next up, we have this one. It's another TwoSun, and one that I think I spent way too damn much money on. This is a new model. This is a TS307-C because, well, we got the that titanium anodization going on here. And as you can see, this is a dagger design here. And looking at the logo, yeah, it's a Mazwan Mokhtar design here. And yes, this is very much dagger with that central swedge. Night Morning has done one, and I think one other designer has done one for TwoSun, and yeah, here we go. Let's see, I think I paid about $123 for this thing, which I think might be a bit much, especially because it is just using their D2. This is using a rather coarse satin finish on these guys here. But the blade is decently thick and everything like that, so the action doesn't really suffer too much from it. Yeah, it works out all right. No call-out pivot collar on this guy here. We do have a central channel, but it goes all the way through. It doesn't cap on either side, so I suppose it's not really stepping too much into Ray Laconico's territory. But this does have the damned problem of this blade is way too close to the freaking spine of the handle here, to the point where it's unsafe. They need to fix this kind of thing, and they never will because they don't prototype any of their stuff. It's the vast majority of the reason why, if you're looking for a TwoSun knife, you have to look for a review on these things beforehand. Otherwise, you end up with stuff like this, and then, well, you've spent the money on it instead of letting some numbnuts like me do that. We do have a reverse, or not reverse, but very, very deep carry pocket clip on this guy. It is not technically milled, but it is very much titanium, very much robust. The pocket clip is done actually quite well. It does kind of hang up on there from the lock bar relief just a little bit. It doesn't bother me that much, but yeah, it's there. And yeah, looking from the little backspacer there where it has that little channel cut in so they don't cause any blade wrap. That's neat, but that does raise the point that this happens along the whole back side of it, and it's not protected. It's, yeah, unacceptably dangerous to freaking carry. But I don't care enough about this knife to actually fix it like I've done with some others. So it's just going to stay that way, and well, it'll probably just remain in my collection, but I don't really have any plans to carry it day to day or anything like that. But yeah, there we go. Let's go ahead. And yeah, you can use these guys to, kind of wave it open, the little quillions there. Of course, they are going to get in the way of actually trying to hold that in a saber grip. So you're much more better off in a pinch grip for this one in particular, or because it's very much a stabby knife, go for that reverse hammer grip, or heck, you can even do it that way with the blade facing out if you want to kind of punch and slash with that. But in that particular grip, the pocket clip that comes out above, it's not my favorite ergonomically. So there we go. The plunge grind is fairly decent where it just kind of drops off, but as we can see here, it's not super even from side to side. So it does just kind of look a little bit like amateur hour on this one in particular. Your mileage may vary on that, but you know, they do CNC mill most of these blades and stuff like that, and this one just didn't really make the cut as far as I'm concerned. Kind of unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. You have 0 lock bar access. Sorry, there was some sort of little creature that landed on the blade there for a second. But yeah, no lock bar access at all. Makes that kind of difficult to close, especially if you are going to be using this in kind of any tactical scenarios or anything like that. And because this, I think I've only seen it in the color variant. The problem with that is they're much, much more slippery. So you don't have that positive traction like you get on the nice sandblasted titanium there. So this thing, you know, if it's specifically screaming out to you, go ahead and pick it up. Otherwise, I'm going to say hard pass on this one. There's much better folding daggers out there than this one in particular. I don't know if that was something that Maz1 didn't really catch, or if it was another one of those things where TwoSun kind of took liberties in bad directions. I don't know, but yeah, don't like it all that much. So I'll just go ahead and set that there. Yeah, it'll remain a little bit in vision. That's fine. Okay, next up, we got this guy. This is a Spyderco. And this is the Enuff 2. We can pop this guy out here. This is the Enuff 2 in K390 steel. So this thing was an absolute beast to attempt to do a reprofile on. K390 is not a joke if you're talking about trying to sharpen or do any kind of a reprofiling sort of thing with it. You know, a standard sharpening, probably not terrible on it, but yeah, there we go. We have blade stock thickness. I think it's what, around 3? Because this was a fixed blade, I didn't really have all that information there. It's basically 2.9 to 2.95, somewhere right there. As far as the blade stock thickness goes, like a lot of their knives, it does have a distal taper out there, so the tip is not the most reinforced, but then again, this is an EDC knife. You are not going to be doing a lot of tactical plunging this into soft material, maybe being kind of protected from the front or something like that with something even harder. Yeah, so this is a saw glasser design, as was the original Enuff, which was shorter. This is closer to a full 4-inch blade, whereas the original ones were closer to 3. So, you know, as he said, 3 inches was enough, and then a lot of people were saying, no, it's not quite enough. So that's why they went with this guy here. Something that I can say, I'm not a huge fan of these FRN scales on this guy here. It's using their, you know, bidirectional volcanic sort of thing, but these are immensely aggressive, much more so than the Delica and Endura and Indela, all that sort of stuff there. To the point where if you are actually squeezing this thing, it is feels like it's almost, especially up top here, like it's cutting into you. Like you probably want to wear gloves with this. And of course, they do those FRN scales so that they can do these swells in the middle, like you get with a lot of fixed blade knives, but without doing any of the machining work like you would have to do with Micarta or G10 or something like that. Keeps the price down. But yeah, it's a little unfortunate. Everything else about the knife is quite nice. We have very, very vertical, neat satin lines going on there. Like I said, this thing was an absolute beast to attempt to get a nice reprofile going on for it, but I did. The sheath for it kind of looks like it's bidirectional, and it kind of is. You can go this way though, And yeah, it has play in there, but it does lock in place. Whereas if you put the knife in the way it's supposed to go, no problems whatsoever. We got leather for the retention thing. You definitely don't really want to have that blade poking that way anyway, because immediately you'll cut that leather. So there's that. It is a little difficult, but I have been stretching it out a little bit to be able to help that out. And it's got like a little J-hook clip there, easy to clip onto a belt, especially when it's already on your person. But it's, you know, all those holes spaced for a whole bunch of other stuff. It's some sort of Tech-Lock compatible. I don't know off the top of my head if it's normal or a mini version, but yeah, there you go. This was it's a fun fixed blade for sure. What I'm not quite sure of is how much I might or might not end up using it in general. Because I do have another different knife that's kind of around that same length here. This is a Kaiser Harpoon. I did pick this up. It's not in the normal list of when I purchased things or whatever, but it's on my mind a little bit. The hand is a little bit less or less lengthy. It is much wider, so it does fill out your hands quite a bit. Nice area there. It's not gemmed in that little divot, but there you go. This is a what is it, a Mavericks design? Yeah, Maverick Customs design. This is a Harpoon. They did a Mini as well. And this is using CPM 10V, which in general is fairly compared to K390 as far as metallurgically sort of thing as it is. The K390 on the Spyderco is much harder than the 10V is here. This is basically probably somewhere in that 59 to 60 range or somewhere around there. Whereas I'm pretty sure this thing is in the mid 60s or something like that. That does make this thing, you know, the edge retention isn't quite the same as that. It's also quite a bit less expensive. But does quite a bit of the same kind of things. Sheaths are different. This one actually has a little bit more of a standard Tech-Lock style sort of thing going on there. But yeah, I mean, either of them are pretty darn fantastic. Just really depends exactly what you're looking for. But they both kind of can serve a lot of the same purposes and stuff like that. So, yeah, there you go. That was just kind of a thought I had. All right, next up here, we got this little tiny guy. This is a Boker. This is an Atlas. This is the Sheepsfoot version of it. They have another blade shape that went along with this one. I don't remember if it was a standard drop point or if it was a clip point. Clip would probably make a little bit more sense to me. But, yeah. This is a fairly interesting piece. These are lockbacks. However, the initial versions of these guys were just slip joints. This is a steel-handled knife and technically integral, even though you know, they did have to cut out quite a large portion of them. But we still do have the back little areas there that had that basically folded over. So it's not milled out of a billet of steel. Much less important for, you know, the steel of this thickness and stuff like that, if you're calling it an integral rather than you know, a titanium integral or something like that. But yeah, these things fairly inexpensive. It's D2 steel. Boker actually does a pretty good job with their D2. I don't know if for their Magnum stuff, if they're actually sourcing German D2 like they do with some of their other knives. Some of their Magnum stuff does, or I'm sorry, Boker Plus, not Boker Magnum. But yeah, so I think it does a pretty darn good job. I've played around with it quite a bit. It does kind of remind me of those Ooh, what's the name of this thing? The Luna. They do have a Sheepsfoot version of it. I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but it does kind of remind me of that. But it is this one is a lock back there, but still quite nice. I do like it quite a bit, especially because it's fairly darn affordable, and it's got a pocket clip. You can't reverse it, but you know, you got to make concessions somewhere, and we got the lanyard hole for it. Let's see. So 2.8 millimeter blade stock thickness. I think probably for this size, they could have probably gotten away with something maybe even thinner, like 2.6 or something like that, like you would get from the Civivi Cubit. This is just a little bit thicker of a blade stock, but it still ends up working out quite well. Just under 2 ounces, 1.94 ounces, or let's see. Looks like I did not record the metric measurements for that, so my bad on that. We got 2.68 inches for the blade, so it's under 3 inches there, which is great, but it locks. So, in maybe some European jurisdictions, it's not going to fully conform. It's not a Boker. I don't remember what they end up calling those, like their 42 series, or it's a number that corresponds with that German law of you can either have a knife that is one-handed open or a knife that locks, but you can't have both. But yeah, that one doesn't quite fit into any of that. But hey, there you go. $37 for these guys, though, which is pretty darn good for the size of knife you get and the incredibly thin profile that these things end up getting. So that's pretty cool. Excuse me. Next up is this guy. This is a TwoSun flashlight. Let's see. It's the LED-1010. This is a Rahi design. Straight up, I'm gonna say, especially after purchasing many of these, don't buy any of these. They are absolutely trash. The titanium on it is nice. The actual button mechanism on these guys are just fail. Like, if not immediately, they will after you've carried them around a little bit. Some of it has to do with a plastic gasket that holds it in place on the inside. They're not reliable whatsoever. So just don't spend your money on them. You can get the much larger ones. I'm trying to look around to see if I had one in front of me, and I don't. But the ones that I do at least have this one. These guys that take the 18650 batteries, these are absolutely rock solid. But any of these guys that take the AAAs, forget about it. Just pretend they don't exist. Ignore any of the listings unless you absolutely love doing stupid stuff like me and collecting stuff that doesn't work or is guaranteed to not work very, very quickly. Yeah. Not super positive on those guys after having many of them. Yeah, I can pull it out. Here's another one that used an 18650. This one's nice and solid. All of these have problems. Every single one of them. These are all TwoSun guys made out of titanium. Some of them are from Rahi. Some of them are from Night Morning. Yeah, all of them just have that kind of switch problem that just straight up makes them unreliable, so I don't know why you would want to carry them around. You can get something from like Olight or Phoenix or something like that for much less money that's going to be much more reliable and actually have some warranty and all that sort of stuff. All right, yeah, anyway. Next up, we got a TS129. This one's in D2 because I got a decent deal on it finally. I've already had the carbon fiber and M390 version, but I wanted to kind of pick this guy up. It is the TS129 that you know and love. The detent on this one is a little stronger. It's not bad for doing the front flip. yeah, I don't really have any problems there. But it feels maybe just a touch stiffer using the thumb hole for the deployment than my M390 version. But otherwise, exactly same knife. It just uses D2 and some of their newer linen micarta going on there. Much more affordable. Let's see, I got this one for about $68, but which, yeah, I mean, between this and the M390 one, that well, I think now probably goes for around 130, but I think I probably got mine for like 80 or something like that way back in the day. But yeah, it's tried and true, nice, good design from Night Morning. This one, interestingly enough, is quite new in production, but it doesn't actually have the model number printed on the blade. Not quite sure why they didn't do that on this one, but there you go. And we can see a little bit on the inside here, or at least we should be able to. Let's find a flashlight that works. Sure, I'll use the Rook that I was looking at last week. And yeah, we do have quite a bit of weight relieving on the micarta side, which is strange. We do have a little bit on the titanium frame lock side, but I don't really think it was necessary for balance purposes to weight relieve the micarta, but they felt like it. And I guess it's fairly easy to mill this stuff compared to titanium and hardened steel. So yeah, there you go. There's that one. I mean, I can go through the specs on it if you're not familiar, but this is a very, very well-known model. We have 4mm blade stock thickness, still nice and thick like it usually is. It's 3.83 ounces, so a little lighter. That'll be 108.5 grams. It's a 3.46-inch blade. Looks like I didn't get the metric measurement of the length there, so apologies for that. And it's 0.51 of an inch, so just a touch over a half an inch thick, and of course it's contoured around, so that's only there in the middle. So, all right, let's move that one aside so we can take a look at the next thing here. And that next thing is, it's this guy. And I'm actually going to skip over this thing because I've just very, very recently recorded a full review of it. This is the Trivisa Volans. It does have quite a few design things that I'm not a huge fan of, but for whatever reason, this thing just really comes together as a fantastic knife. It's got pretty much what I would consider to be a needle point. So that's basically kind of a drop with a swedge there. Comes out to an incredibly acute tip, but still has some reinforced sort of stuff there. Saber grind there. The plunge grind kind of sucks. So you can already see that I've hit that and made a smile. That's something that I'm not a huge fan of. It's using 154 cm. I am a huge fan of that. Micarta, not thrilled about it, but it's still a decently comfortable handle. And it does have a detent track, but the detent in general is way later than I kind of would want it. So it's feels a little strange until you get used to getting that blade cocked much further over than you might feel comfortable with before you move that. Otherwise, the blade will not fully close on you. It can bounce back open and stuff like that. Pocket clip's fine. We got a giant lanyard slat in it. But yeah, like I said, I did a review on this, a full review that should be up probably before this video is, so I won't go over specs. It's pretty much a medium-sized knife. The other one that I got about a week later, this is also a Trivisa, even though it definitely doesn't look like it compared to most of the rest that I've taken a look at here. But yeah, there we go. You can see it there. This is the Leo, and part of the reason I purchased it was, well, that's kind of my sign Unfortunately, this one isn't anywhere near as good as many other Trivisas are. Um, there's not a huge amount that really sets this apart from basically any of the other kind of G10 D2 flipper knives. I mean, it's K110 steel instead of D2. It's D2 from Bowler, so Austrian D2, whatever. We can see just how, sorry about that, just how terrible the plunge grind is on that for when I did my reprofile to 17 degrees. Trivisa kind of has an issue with that, but it's nowhere near as bad as, like, say, QSP or something like that. You can easily kind of flick that open with your index finger, or, you know, reverse flick it with a middle finger if that's something you want to do, as well as, of course, the flipper tab that ends up working out great. The jumping for it is, you know, we only have a few, but it's decently aggressive, so it ends up working out quite well. The handle is okay. I really don't appreciate all the holes and everything that have been put through it. It's, of course, put through both sides of the G10 and the steel liners and all that sort of stuff. Does a little bit of weight relieving, but this knife is still fairly heavy, so it's not really a saving grace of it at all. We have a little bit of lock bar access, but maybe I would appreciate a little more, or at least chamfering on both sides of those liners a little bit more to make that easier to get to. If you were using gloves or something like that, this would be a struggle for you to end up closing. And it's got their kind of deep carry folded over clip. The clip doesn't bother me in the hand as much as quite a few others, probably because it sticks out further than kind of the center of my pinky knuckle, where a lot of them end up sitting. But yeah, this thing has a really, really thick blade stock, at least outside of TwoSun. It's 3.7 millimeters. It's 4.76 ounces, or 135 grams. 3.75 inch or 3.74 inch between the back of the scale there and the tip of the blade. It ends up being exactly 95 millimeters, and it's 0.62, so quite a bit thicker than a half an inch thick. That's 15.8 millimeters overall. And this guy was about $57, which I essentially see this as if Petrified Fish or somebody else that this seems a little bit more in their wheelhouse for, this would probably be around $40 to $45, even with using that K110 steel. I don't really think it's worth all that much, but I was kind of interested and picked it up. And yeah, this thing just really doesn't have a whole lot that's going for it, whereas a lot of Trivisas do have quite a bit more interesting factors and everything to it. But yeah, there we go. There's the knives that I got in this particular roundup, where we got the Trivisa Leo, the Trivisa Volans, the TwoSun 129 that I'd already had, a very faulty flashlight. We got the Boker Atlas Sheepsfoot. We got the TS307 with a whole bunch of problems, and the enormous TwoSun Pical thing here with anodized titanium and micarta inlay. Not exactly the most fantastic set of knives. I think the Trivisa Volans is probably the standout for me. Even though, like I said, it's got some things about it that you know, on paper I don't like all that much, but this thing just really comes together into a very, very useful thing that cuts better than I expect it to. It's a nice knife overall. But alrighty, that is the knives that I have here to cover. Sorry for being a little negative in this one. I do think that some of the further ones in probably have a little bit more positive connotation. But hey, what can I say? Just this particular set of knives was a little bit more on the meh side, but still. Alright, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Subscribe, please.